A necessary evil of using the internet is having to shake the hands with Reddit. This isn't done by any active choice, mind you. It's just the easiest way to obtain certain information. For example, if I'm trying to find a dodgy movie website, I know if I type in free movie /Reddit, something will most likely turn up. Sadly, this source of convenience also comes with a source of headaches, because Reddit is single-handedly host to the most parasitic communities the world has ever known. Unlike, say, a Twitter or a Discord group, Reddit's power user base is comprised of those kids in elementary school who say, "I told you so" a lot. My impression of an average Reddit community discussion is I like to imagine a group of hipsters from New York City, all wearing neck scarves and glasses, with every single one of them acting and talking like Adam Conover from Adam Ruins Everything, presumably while goggling on their own penis tips.
Well, you see, we can't climate, we should all get a little bit more tolerant.
That tip licking that's normally reserved for their in-room chats has spilled out onto the real world as of today, actually, because Reddit in their usual fashion is up in arms about something, and that something in typical Reddit fashion is stupid. I'm presuming that you don't frequent r/why doesn't my wife love me or r/Funko Pops, so I'm gonna have to explain this to you hog and all. You see, way back before the year of 2016, which Jesus Christ may as well be prehistoric at this point, the only way one could access Reddit and its various communities was either through the browser on your phone or a desktop computer. It would be a whole other year before Reddit decided to release their own app in order to access their website. In the time before Reddit decided to release their own official app, their users were industrious, and there were multiple apps that allowed you to browse Reddit in easy and convenient ways. One of the most popular being Apollo, a third-party developed app that cost $1.50 in order to buy every single month. Now, up until a week ago, Apollo enjoyed free API services through Reddit. Translated for you non-super mega geniuses like me, API stands for Application Programming Interface. I knew that right off my brain. Think of it as a software that communicates between softwares. If you need to send a message to another software or program, you need a middleman to run that message for you. Seeing that Apollo relies on Reddit content, it's kind of vital that it needs API. As in, no middleman to receive the data off Reddit and bring it back over to Apollo means no content for Apollo. The people who run Reddit seemingly came out of a coma and realized that they were flipping the bill for a third-party app to use their content on their platform because API communication costs money. And in their very wise move that in my opinion was long overdue, basically told Apollo straight to his face, "Yeah, homie, we ain't playing this shit no more, flip the bill." Which to me just makes perfect sense realistically. Why should the company that's providing the content also paying to provide that content to another company? It's like Netflix making some of their garbage shows and then paying another company to give it away for free. It's just bad business practice. Now, of course, as I explained, Apollo made sense practically before Reddit had its own app. Before Reddit had its own app, they didn't have to flip the development costs in order to design an app that can run Reddit. The key word being before. So as I said, it's just good business practice. What is the sense in paying for another app to run when you have your own? And if you can charge that other app in order to use your content, because again, they rely on you, why wouldn't you? Broken down that way, you as a reasonable person say, yeah, that just makes sense. But I'm gonna have to pull you out of that mindset and put you into the mind of a ravenous Redditor. Please brace yourself, close your eyes, wrap your legs around your head, and prepare to place your own tip in your mouth. Imagine, if you would, another dimension. One in which you were not severely bullied for being overweight. One in which you could discuss the best Batman amongst your peers. One in which you can make vaguely racist arguments amongst other white people while pretending to be black. In this dimension, you can be anything you want, except for happy. This is the Neckbeard Zone. Put yourself in a power Reddit user's size 3 shoes. For years upon years, their tiny little hands have been used to scrolling down the same app that they've grown accustomed to, that being Apollo. Because again, as I've said, Reddit didn't have an app. Now these Reddit users are being told their favorite application, Apollo, will be shutting down because in Apollo's words, they can't afford the API costs, which is estimated to be £15 million a year according to Sky News. You'd be enraged. The blood vessel in your oversized forehead would nearly burst, forcing you to roll over in your wheeled office chair from the one end of your room covered in mustard stains and hot dog smell over to your bigger computer where you're gonna hunch over and type in a big complaint. Then begin ranting about greed and affirmative action with your other fellow neckbeards. And essentially that's how we ended up at this point now, because what I've yet to explain is because Apollo is being charged money by Reddit and Apollo is basically saying they're gonna shut down because they can't afford the API costs, Redditors are amassing in droves moves and going on a website shutdown. Basically, as a form of protest, some of the most popular admins of the most popular subreddits of the entire website are temporarily disabling their subreddits for the next 48 hours. In a move that's meant to force the hand of Reddit to pay the API costs on a business that doesn't provide them with any funding to convenience those people who use the app. And as of right now, which is the 6th of the 12th of 2023, the effects are massive. Vladimir Putin has agreed to lay down arms because of the bravery shown by the Reddit power bottoms. Kim Jong-un was cited as bursting down in tears because he realized what he had done and what his grandfather had done and what his father had done. And I personally felt love for a living being for the first time in my entire life. And not just for a video game that came out years ago that drowned out the sound of my parents arguing. Obviously, I'm only having a little bit of a joke because in reality, and unsurprisingly, Reddit going into a blackout doesn't affect the real world in any way. But something that did really strike me and surprise me is the fact that Reddit's owners and management didn't instantly buckle to their users' demands. If you're going back to the 1940s, when companies used to do horrendously evil acts, they would either boldface lie or just straight up tell you, yeah, we did that, but we don't care. Like, dude, literally at one point, cigarettes were aligned with asbestos as the healthy alternative. But modern companies lack stones. And if there's so much as say the one wrong thing out of term, they're getting on their knees and apologizing Japanese style. Reddit management, however, is saying, liquor, me taint. My assumption, or at least my hope, is that the Reddit CEO is absolutely full of his users making ridiculous demands that don't even make sense. More examples, you say? And as somebody who runs the website, he's more than likely familiar with his average user base's attention span. Let's be realistic about this for a second. This isn't a protest that Reddit users are doing because they want to save jobs or they want to keep Apollo afloat. It's nothing so grandiose and morally beautiful. This is being done by the admins of certain subreddits purely because they don't like the idea of somebody taking away their toy. It's entirely selfish motivations. If this was happening and had absolutely zero effect on them, and it wasn't the reason that Apollo was directly shutting down, none of them would care at all. And in fact, I imagine the argument would be completely the opposite if they were staying in business, with most of the Redditors probably taking Reddit's side, saying, oh yeah, it only makes sense that this company flips the bill to use the content that they don't own, and or at least host. And to be honest with you, Apollo's services are pretty much redundant and useless. There is absolutely zero need for anybody who wants to use Reddit to download the Apollo app and pay for it. And even if you were paying for it, I can't imagine that Apollo could use that money to cover the server costs anyway. As I said, they make $1.50 on every user. Let's say they make 50 cents out of that because of business cost, staff payment, The only reason that business was turning a profit to begin with was because they weren't being charged for an essential service to their business. So in my opinion, that business shouldn't even be valid. How, in the 10 years that that app was running, being paid for by users, did they not think eventually, this faucet might get turned off? Especially when they were given, what, like a 4-5 year grace period from 2016 when Reddit came out with its own app? How did nobody in the board of Apollo say to themselves, Reddit doesn't need us as a service. We're relying on Reddit's good charity 110% to keep us going. Why are we not looking for an alternative source? Like, I don't know, charging different rates to cover the cost if it ever comes. Discussing like a wage split with Reddit itself. Even the bare minimum, trying to source their own content so they don't have to rely on Reddit the entire time. How can a large app with seemingly so many people who love it so much they're willing to shut down Reddit not be smart enough to foresee this eventual possibility? It's atrocious management. It's like me running a tomato farm with my main source of income being tomatoes, and instead of cultivating my land or actively trying to keep my plants alive, every single day I just get on my knees and pray to God to keep my tomatoes alive for me. Not to mention, Apollo could have easily been the new Reddit. They could have at least competed in the market share because they had a majority of people already using their app. If they just created their own Reddit-like form on a separate app and undercard developer until it was ready and then announced it on Apollo, easy transition of all those users that already use your app, that already prefer your app, probably wouldn't mind swapping over to a different message board. I feel zero sympathy for upper management who this app is failing on, as it is 110% by their own hands. In summary and closing, closing, I want to bring all of my points together in a nice little salty sack for you to suckle on. Reddit sure as hell shouldn't be flipping the bill for another company to use their service to make themselves money, of which Reddit doesn't see. These users who are quote-unquote protesting are going to get bored in a minute and are doing this just purely out of their own selfish reasoning because they don't want to give up something that they got used to and is their comfort app, and the people in charge of Apollo are morons. I'm so sorry to every employee who worked there. Small or big team, it's tragic that you have to lose your job because the person in charge of you is so incompetent. You could have transitioned from a paid app to a free app and done the exact same thing that Reddit does with rewards. It's so infuriating. It would have been so easy. The last thing I have to say is legally you have to subscribe to Dino on YouTube, and I'll see you later before I give myself a heart attack. Bye bye.